2. Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. Amidst my purple lights and the madness of the WNST studio, and inviting you out on Tuesday night to join us with Sam Cook. We'll be at Greenmount Station. We already swabbed him for the Bone Marrow Registry. We can swab you as well. And don't forget, making Miami plans, but standing in the way. This guy once covered the Baltimore Ravens as well as the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm personally proud of him, and very rare is it the guy here in local media circles that still outdresses me on a weekly basis. He is the sharpest dressed man in all the Nashville media. He will be making his way back to Baltimore, not for the crab cakes. We got football. Turron Davenport joins us here from ESPN and the NFL Nation covering the Titans. You can follow him at @Davenport_NFL. Tens of thousands do. Dude, you got some sort of Columbia Blue, Houston Oiler look you're going to bring in here this week for me? I mean, this is going to be a hell of a matchup. You know I was an old Oiler fan, right? So I do have a little bit of a soft spot for all things Nashville, but Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry are in the way, Turron. They are.
Yeah, they're definitely in the way, especially Derrick Henry. You look at what he did against the Patriots. It's ridiculous. So I agree. They're in the way. It's going to be a fun game. I can't wait. I just want to see the chess match, the back and forth between Greg Roman and Dean Pease. There's so much about this game I'm excited about. And once I found out for sure that the Titans were advancing to the next round, I couldn't stop smiling because I can't wait to come up there and get reunited with a lot of people and get in that stadium again and just have some fun.
Well, enemy territory for the Titans on the road. Clearly what they did over the weekend speaks volumes. I mean, you and I are Facebook friends, and I know I don't have you on all that often because we don't play each other all that often, and I bug you once or twice a year around a draft, and I know you're a draftnik, and we've spent time together out in Indianapolis in the cold in the dead of winter, and, your real dedication to covering this league and finding your way down there. You're as close to them as anybody. I mean, I see you at the press conference, I see you on the field before, during, after games, and out on Twitter and whatnot. Did you believe this was possible for this team? Because, I mean, they're the Cinderella in all this. I mean, the Ravens went from a Cinderella in September to now, sort of the mighty that must be defeated on the road by the Cinderella. Tennessee and certainly Ryan Tannehill, they're wearing that right now, right?
Yeah, I think they're wearing the Cinderella slipper right now. And I tell you, being around them, I got that feeling early in the week that they were going to beat New England. It was just a vibe in the locker room. There was a level of confidence, a level of being dialed in. You watched them in practice in that open portion. And then really when it hit me that they were going to win was when they came out, right? Mike Vrabel came out, and just the look in his face and watching those guys come out, there was just something about it. It was a charge, man, and it was the same charge I felt before the Colts game where they beat the Colts in Indy, and it just there's a groove with this team. It is definitely a groove. Mike Vrabel is an outstanding coach. He's very similar to John Harbaugh in the way that he's able to relate to players and get them to actually want to lay it on the line for him.
Well, let's start with this. I mean, I remember when Vrabel came out in the draft, right? I mean, I remember literally sitting around with Marvin Lewis and Phil Savage back in the spring of 1997. I remember him coming out, and I remember people liking him. I remember thinking it was a bad thing that the Steelers got him because the Ravens did like him. The Ravens were high on him, despite the fact that he made it into the third round and whatnot. And, of course, the 97 draft, if you go back to the Ravens, Kim Herring and Peter Boulware and, all sorts of goodies sort of fell out of the tree. Jamie Sharper in the 97 draft. But the fact that he became a head coach, the fact that he went about it the way he did, in sort of following along in Bill O'Brien and following along in the New England Patriots sort of tradition of things, it is a fascinating thing that they did not have their depends on as they went in there and heard the, you get that foghorn and lighthouse going on up there in Foxborough. There's usually a little yellow puddle between other. And, Flacco never had that. Harbaugh never had that. The Ravens, Ray Lewis, they were the one sort of kryptonite for Belichick and the Patriots up there in a way that Manning never was, in a way that maybe Ben Roethlisberger never was. But Vrabel sort of brings a little bit more of that with him. And I'll tell you, I was with you, I believe, almost 2 years ago out in Indianapolis when he got the gig, and I remembered seeing him stand up in front of the media at the combine and thinking to myself, well, there's a relatable guy. There's a credible guy if I'm a young 22-year-old kid in the league. And everything I've watched from afar, I'm impressed by him, dude. I mean, you spend a lot of time around him, but I'm impressed by him.
Yeah, and you should be. It's definitely a good situation of where you got a guy that's a true leader of men. And that phrase gets thrown around a lot, but he truly does lead these guys, and he's invested in their personal lives. And anytime you can make those emotional deposits, the coach and player relationship, it's deeper. And that's something I see. And you talk about him as a prospect coming out. And I remember it was him, it was Matt Finks, these guys, defensive ends, and he got into the right situation with the Patriots, and Bill Belichick praised him for being, a technically sound guy, a hard-nosed, physical football, very bright. And he said that it was only natural for him to be a coach because the game comes easily to him. So I say that to say, if you watch a full practice, what you see is Mike Vrabel going. I've literally seen him go to each and every position group. And I would kind of follow him and listen in to some of the tips and things that he would give them. And then you see it carry over to the game, whether it be working with an edge guy to be able to get your chest plate free, right? Or whether working with a guy in the trenches, one of the D tackles, on how to extend and really use your leverage to steer the offensive lineman. Even working with receivers. Like, I saw him do all of that. And that's something that really stands out, along with the staff that he's brought in. So he's positioned himself to be in a really good situation with this team. They've bought in fully. They did that last year in training camp, in his first year. You look at some of the losses that they've had, there were no finger pointing or anything like that through losing streaks. So that speaks volumes about that coaching staff overall.
Turron Davenport, nobody's covering the Tennessee Titans better than him. The Tennessee Titans are in. He is a busy guy all week down there on the Cumberland River. They will be in early. Everything gets moved up a day, and it certainly has on the case of the Ravens. We're going to be with Sam Cook at a Greenmount Station on Tuesday night and talking about the Bone Marrow Registry, talking about veteran people around this. Turron, you've become a veteran now, maybe almost a decade into this, where you spent time with the Ravens. I know you covered other NFL, went up to Philadelphia and covered a championship team. And the one thing about Vrabel that I would say is when you have a quarterback controversy, and I got Billick here, my partner on behalf of the Living Classrooms Foundation. We talked about Trent Dilfer for Tony Banks. We've talked about Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith. We've talked about what John Harbaugh did with you replacing Cam Cameron with Jim Caldwell very late, into the campaign in December. So these kind of decisions. You've watched this Vrabel thing with Mariota and Tannehill. Obviously, a lot of people in Miami were high on Tannehill. He did not have some pieces around him as well as coaching around him. Give me a little inside poker on the quarterback situation there and what you've seen transpire that's landed the Titans in the second round of the playoffs, sort of maybe against all odds going back to October when this change was sort of blowing, right?
Yeah, let me ask you a question, Nestor. Because you're clearly passionate about what you do. You love radio. You never stop recording. What if temporarily you had to stop recording? How would you approach it when you're able to go back and start recording again?
Well, you probably go slow, right?
Or you just really cherish the opportunity, right?
Oh, you get a second chance in life. I mean, RG3 got a start last week and won a game after being out of the sport, right? Redemption's for all of us, right? A second chance.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us don't get a second chance, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You cherish what it is that you have going for you. And in that time when you don't have it, you're able to reflect and actually remove yourself from the situation and look at different things that you could have done better, different things that you may not have done. And that's really what Tannehill got to do. And then in addition to that, he said specifically that he got to sit back and see different guys operate and learn how to lead each guy. To a man, when you talk to different players in that locker room, especially on the offense, they'll tell you the confidence that he brings to that huddle is tremendous. Talking to the offensive, to the QB coach, he said Ryan Tannehill has an undying confidence that when he gets the ball, they're going to score. Nestor, in 4 games, he took that offense from number 19 in red zone scoring percentage at 58% to number 1. They have remained number 1. At the end of the year, they were a 73% scoring in the red zone percentage team. That speaks volumes. And then if you look at the pass that he had in the game against the Patriots, fit it into a tight window with the pressure bearing down on him, and it was a touchdown throw to Anthony Ferguson, the tight end. He's playing with a different level of confidence, a different level of aggressiveness. There's a lot to him that has changed, and he has the weapons around him. He has a running game, a stout defense. It's a perfect situation for him.
Derrick Henry, I remember him sort of running all over the SEC, and he was a guy that I thought like anybody could build around him because I thought if you could run the ball, and that's sort of what we do around here these days, sort of in a different way than sort of the straight up sort of style that he has. I'm going to have Jamal Lewis on the program a little later on in the week, and it's reminiscent of that, but it's also, you could see the Patriots guys didn't want to tackle him. And it felt that way to me when it was men against boys in the SEC, when he was running away with the Heisman, which really felt like, especially third, fourth quarter, guys don't want to tackle him. There's not going to have to be any wake-up call for the Ravens this week as to what can happen to you if you don't tackle Derrick Henry.
Yeah, 100%. And this is a game that's going to be fun to watch. And there's a reason why both of these teams have had success against the Patriots is because they're very similar to each other. They are physical football teams. They gear everything around reestablishing the line of scrimmage on offense and defense. And, that's pretty much what it boils down to. Look, man, the Ravens, they're averaging 200-plus yards rushing per game. That team is real, right? And you got a quarterback that could throw the football, all kinds of launch angles and everything like that. Tight ends, Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews was my number 1 tight end in that draft. So, look, I think it's going to be a great game. These two teams match, but you're 100% right. Being as though the Ravens are very familiar with what a dominating rushing offense can do to a team, they're going to do everything they can to keep that from being the reverse against their defense.
He is Turron Davenport. He is covering the Tennessee Titans these days for ESPN and the NFL Nation. You can follow him at @TDavenport_NFL. All right, so I saw Taylor Lewan, dropping some F-bombs in the postgame. And, obviously they're having a good time there, and there's a lot of enthusiasm and going up to Foxborough. Make the case for the 9-7 upstart Tennessee Titans here, Turron, to beat the Baltimore Ravens and to thwart all of my plans on Thursday and Friday to go down to South Florida and throw the greatest purple party in the history of purple parties down in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, first off, I hope I get an invite. No, I'm kidding.
We got to win first, dog. Come on now.
Yeah, right. No, I think it's going to be really tough to beat this team. I think the key is going to be, and this is something that everyone has tried to do, right? Hey, hit Lamar. That's really what you have to do, but trying to get him to not have those explosives, whether it be pushing the ball down the field or running. You absolutely have to avoid playing man defense. Your defenders can't have your back to a guy like Lamar Jackson because before you know it, he'll have 10 yards down the field, in no time because he's so fast. He's so explosive. So for me, it's all about making him go through his progressions a little bit more. Finding a way to suffocate him in the pocket where you have your edge rush and your pocket being collapsed in unison, and that way it kind of like you're chasing him into a trap, right, and into someone else. So that's really the key in my opinion. But I'll be honest with you, I don't see the Titans winning this game. I think it's been a great run, but I think that run is ending. So I can only try to convince you so much because in doing that, I would be lying to myself.
Yeah, the backside of this would be Dean Pease coming back to Baltimore. I don't know what the vibe is there, and certainly there was bad blood with New England. And you talk about these matchups of like Vrabel winning and beating Belichick, and we would be looking next week at a potential Andy Reid, John Harbaugh reunion. That's certainly possible. But it could be a Vrabel, Bill O'Brien reunion as well. Kamalei Correa, Dean Pease. There's certainly some Raven in what they're doing in Tennessee. And I know Vrabel really sort of pulled Dean Pease out of retirement based on their relationship from the days back at up in Foxborough, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you mentioned Kamalei Correa because I tell you, the last 3 or 4 games, he has been playing outstanding football.
He was all over the place the other night. I mean, I sort of forgot he was there, and then I saw him, and then I couldn't stop seeing him, right?
Yeah. And see, the thing is, there was some reason for, I don't know why, but he was used as an inside linebacker there in Baltimore, and he was always an outstanding edge defender at Boise State, and he settled into that position here in Nashville. And we'll see what happens after this year, but I think he's someone they definitely should bring back.
Man, no matter how this turns out, man, you're still going to have better barbecue. Bring me some of that. We'll get a crab cake. Hey, man, appreciate the time. Thanks for making time on short notice. Enjoy the week there in Tennessee. We'll see you this weekend, Turron.
No doubt. Anytime. Appreciate you.
Turron Davenport, my man from ESPN. We've known him for a number of years back here when he was covering the Ravens locally, as well as up in Philadelphia, where he covered the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl championship up there. You can find him at @TDavenport_NFL and at ESPN NFL Nation. Big tip of the cap to Luke Jones, who's also a part of the Pro Football Writers Association in honoring Lamar Jackson, as well as Zeus last week. Luke's on the backfields this week. We have Sam Cooke at Greenmount Station in Hampstead on Tuesday night. We will be all week in South Florida trying to get parties together. Nasty at WNST.net. We shall all convene at the Purple Altar on Saturday night in the hopes that Turron Davenport's prediction is correct and a Raven victory and a moving on to a home AFC championship. All too rare AFC championship game at home. Hang on, everybody. They're going to sell you the whole seat. You're only going to need the edge. I'm Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking and streaming Baltimore sports.